Court is back in session in cause number 328-562. Case is styled State of Texas versus Ozzie Johnson. Ozzie Johnson was previously sworn in. Ozzie Johnson pled guilty to the information. And Ozzie Johnson acknowledged that his initials and signatures on misdemeanor plea admonishment, which was State's Exhibit number 1. He also acknowledged that his signature was on State's Exhibit, well, on the Texas court's certification, or the trial court certification, the defendant's right of appeal. And he also understood that this is a plea bargain case, he has no right of appeal, and that he also understood that he was waiving his right to an appeal, which means he was giving up his right to appeal. He also acknowledged that his signature was on the discovery certification. Now, Mr. Johnson, I show you these documents that you previously acknowledged. Did you, prior to signing and initialing these documents, did your attorney go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes, sir.
And is everything,
Yeah.
okay, and is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Okay. State, I have before me State's Exhibit number 1. State, would you like to offer State sworn?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections? No objections. State's Exhibit number 1 will be admitted. Ms. Provo, you've advised and counseled Mr. Johnson. Is there any evidence that he's currently mentally incompetent to stand trial? No. Mr. Johnson, your attorney, Ms. Provo, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with her representation?
Yes, sir.
Has she provided full, effective, and competent legal representation? You have to speak up.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Johnson, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State,
Yes, Your Honor.
do we have a plea bargain agreement?
We do, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
Your Honor, the agreement is for 90 days in jail probated over a term of 1 year, a $750 fine, 50 hours of community service, DWI classes, and interlock device.
What about drug and alcohol
Yes,
assessment?
Your Honor. Yes, drug and alcohol assessments as well.
Mr. Johnson, the state is offering that you serve 90 days in the Jefferson County Jail, but you will not have to serve any time in the Jefferson County Jail because you'll be placed on probation for 1 year. During the 1 year probationary period, you'll be required to pay a fine of $750 plus court costs. The fine and court costs is totaled $1,172. You'll also be required to pay a probation fee of $60 each month, a year analysis fee of $15 each month. You'll be required. You got this wrong. Where you have the, oh, no, never mind. You'll also be required to pay the court-appointed attorney's fees of $250. And you will be required to pay the Jefferson County DWI education class and initial evaluation fee of $125 on the day of the plea. Should a further evaluation be needed, you'll be required to pay an additional $50. Now, the total monthly installments, that is the total amount that you would have to pay each month, is $205. Will you be able to pay the $205 each month?
Yes, sir.
You will also be required to perform 50 hours of community service, attend and complete a DWI education class, You're required to have a drug and alcohol assessment. You will install a DWI interlock device on any vehicle that you own or operate, and you will also be required to adhere to the other standard terms and conditions of probation. Mr. Johnson, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
And do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Johnson, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Mr. Johnson, you're gonna stand on the X next to your attorney, follow the directions of our clerk. Once you finish following her directions, you'll be free to go, and you have a blessed day. And Ms. Provo, I think this is your only case. You'll be free to go as well, and you have a blessed day. Yes,
Thank you, Your Honor.
you are.
I'm gonna stumble through this.
Court is in session and cause number 329702. The case is styled the state of Texas versus Mickey Joe James. Where's the attachment? Oh. Court is back in session at cause number 329702. Case is style of state of Texas versus Mickey Joe James. Mr. James, is that your full name?
Yes, sir.
Mr. James, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. James, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Mr. James, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. James?
Fine, Your Honor.
You doing fine? That's good. Mr. James, you're here represented by your attorney, Attorney Philip Dowden. Attorney Dowden, how are you doing?
Great, Judge. How are you?
I'm doing fine. The state is represented by Attorney Daniel Boyd. Attorney Boyd, how are you doing?
Doing well, Your Honor. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking. Mr. James, I have before me an information that alleges that on or about February 5th of 2021, while you were operating a motor vehicle in a public place in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class A misdemeanor offense of driving while intoxicated with an alcohol concentration level of 0.15 or more. Mr. James, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And to this charge, Mr. James, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Now, are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes, sir.
Mr. James, I have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishment. It's also labeled as State's Exhibit Number 1. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 2 of this same document, Mr. James, there are a set of initials MJ on a line. What? This line is check nola contendere. Are you pleading no contest or are you pleading guilty?
I think we put it down as no contest.
Okay, so how are you pleading? No contest or are you pleading guilty?
No contest, sir.
Now, are you pleading no contest freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And are you pleading no contest because you do not wish to fight or contest the charges?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. James, I have before me State's Exhibit Number 1. Do you recognize this document, the misdemeanor plea admonishment?
Yes, sir.
On page 2 of this document, Mr. James, there's a set of initials MJ on the line next to a box that's checked nola contendere, which means no contest. Did you place your initials on this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 3 of the same document, Mr. James, there's a signature above the line that is titled defendant. Is that your signature?
Yes, sir.
On the next document, which is the trial court certification of defendant's right of appeal, Mr. James, do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is that your signature above the line that's titled defendant?
Yes, sir.
There are 2 boxes that are checked at the top of this document. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
The second box that's checked states that you're waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Mr. James, I also have before me a document that is titled Discovery Certification. Mr. James, do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled defendant?
Yes, sir.
Mr. James, prior to signing and initialing these documents that I've just mentioned, did your attorney, Mr. Dowden, go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
State, I have before me State's Exhibit Number 1, the misdemeanor plea admonishment. State, you like to offer State's Exhibit Number 1 and State's Exhibit Number 2, the probable cause affidavit?
Yes, Your Honor. No objection.
No objection. State's Exhibits 1 and 2 are admitted. Mr. Dowden, you have advised and counseled Mr. James. Is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
Not at all, Your Honor.
Mr. James, your attorney, Mr. Dowden, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, sir, I am.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes, sir.
Mr. James, I will accept your plea of no contest. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea of no contest and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. And I will also find that there's sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
What is that agreement?
180 days jail
to be probated over 1 year.
Okay.
$800 fine. 60 hours community service. DWI education course. Drug and alcohol assessment and admission interline. Thank
Mr. James, the state is offering that you serve 180 days in jail, but you will not have to serve any time in jail because you will be placed on probation for a period of 1 year. During this 1 year probationary period, you'll be required to pay a fine of $800 and court costs of $417. The total fine and court cost is $1,217. You will also be required to pay a probation fee of $60 each month, a urinalysis fee of $15 each month. You will be required to pay the Jefferson County DWI education class an initial evaluation fee of $125 on the day of the plea. Should a further evaluation be needed, you'll be required to pay an additional $50. Your total monthly installments, that is the total amount that you would have to pay each month while you're on probation, is $190. Mr. James, will you be able to pay the $190 each month?
Yes, sir.
You will also be required to perform 60 hours of community service, attend and complete a DWI education class. You'll be required to have a drug and alcohol assessment. You did, I see here on this, you say you're supposed to attend the DWI intervention class.
Yes, Your Honor. Education. The education.
You got education and then they have an intervention on
Oh,
20.
I thought that was an interlock. I'm sorry.
No, we have an interlock is next, but I'm just saying.
Just
She said both of them was checked on the plea form.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. It's just the DWI education and the admission interlock.
And the drug and
alcohol.
alcohol, okay.
Sorry, Judge.
No, I was just making sure. Okay, so now you'll attend the DWI education, attend and complete the DWI education class and have a drug and alcohol assessment. And you will install a DWI interlock device on any vehicle that you own or operate. And you would have to adhere to the other standard terms and conditions of your probation. Mr. James, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir, I do.
And do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, Mr. James, I will accept the plea bargain. I will follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Mr. James, you're gonna stand on the X next to your attorney. You're gonna follow the directions of our clerk. Once you finish following her directions, you'll be free to go. And you have a blessed day. And Mr. Dowden, you'll be free to go as well, and you have a blessed day.
Thank you very much, Judge.
Okay, you're welcome. Court is in session and cause number 326-856. Case of style of state of Texas versus the white Jermaine Lewis. Mr. Lewis, is that your full name? How you doing, Mr. Lewis? Okay, that's good. Mr. Lewis, your case is set on our announcement docket, and I see that you were scheduled to hire an attorney. Have you hired your attorney? You did? Who did you hire? Wright Kimler? Okay, he didn't, see if we have a letter of rep. Does he have bond conditions? Does he have bond conditions? Richmond, that blue folder, maybe to the assault case. Thank you. Mr. Lewis, Mr. Kimler has now filed a letter of representation. Normally, when attorneys get hired on a case, they're required to file a letter of representation informing the court that they have been hired to represent you. That has not been done. Did you recently hire him?
Yes, sir.
Oh, you hired him this week?
Yes, sir. Everything is sorted. Get paid by
Okay.
the job that I do not-
You're gonna have to speak up. She's taking a record.
So I get paid by the job that I do, not by the hour, by the rain and the cold and stuff. Everything is slow. So it's kind of hard getting the money together.
Okay.
There you go. Secretary Maria, she took them down all my information, said that she was gonna send it in right there and there.
Okay. Well, that hadn't been done yet. And so we're going to reset your case. 30 days, given some time to get that letter of representation into us. Okay, let me do this here. It says it's reset to April 1st. Angie, could you give me a copy of this here? Thank you. Now, Mr. Lewis, your case has been reset to April 1st of 2022. You need him to sign? Yeah, why don't you stand over there and sign, and then you gotta come back up to the bench.
You won't see it, but I will.
Okay. Yeah, you could just take this here. Mr. Well, could you hand that to him? Mr. Lewis, you've just been handed a document that is titled Standard Bond Conditions and County Court at Law Number 2. And I will go over this document with you, and it reads as follows. Following the arrest and/or accusation in County Court at Law Number 2 of Jefferson County, Texas, all bail bonds executed for release of any defendant named herein or ordered subject to the following additional conditions. Number 1, the defendant shall commit no offense against the laws of this state, any other state, or of the United States. Do you understand that condition? Condition number 2, the defendant shall submit to testing for drugs and alcohol at any time as directed by the court. The court may revoke the bond and order the arrest of any defendant who, A, refuses to submit to a test for drugs and alcohol when directed to do so by the court, or B, submit to a test for drugs and alcohol, and the test indicates the presence of drugs or alcohol in the defendant's body. Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, Article 17.44A2C2. Do you understand that condition? And condition number 3, the defendant shall not communicate either directly or indirectly with the alleged victim of the pending offense, and the defendant shall not go near any residence, school, or other location frequented by the alleged victim. Do you understand that condition? And condition number 4 does not apply because that only apply in a DWI case. Now, Mr. Lewis, if you violate any one of these conditions, your bond will be revoked or can be revoked, and you'll be placed in the Jefferson County Jail. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Your case has been reset to April 1st of 2022. You're free to go. You have a blessed day.
Here's your receipt.
Yes. Okay, you need approach on, is it Reginald Cole?
Reginald Cole and to make a motion,
Okay.
Your Honor, at the court's pleasure.
Reginald Cole,
Mr. Cole is in the building. And Ms. Moses is right outside.
the court is in session in clause number 317394 and clause number 328368. Both cases are styled the state of Texas versus Reginald Cole. Mr. Cole, is that your full name?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Mr. Cole, you're here represented by your attorney, Mr. James Paget. Mr. Paget, how are you doing?
Doing well, Your Honor. Good morning.
All right, I'm doing fine. And how are you doing, Mr. Cole?
Very blessed, Your Honor, and yourself.
I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking. Now, Mr. Cole has one of his cases that is a motion to revoke probation. And Mr. Gary Gilliam is from the probation office, Mr. Gilliam. And Mr. Boyd with the DA's office, do y'all have a recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. It's my understanding from speaking with Mr. Paget on the case that's still pending, not the MTRP, the other case, that we're gonna have a plea.
That's correct. Mr. Boyd is going to email me an offer. I'm going to sit down with my client, go over the options. If he will give us a plea date, we'll handle that. My
Okay.
understanding is from speaking to Mr. Gillen that the state, well, I'll let him.
He's recommending a dismissal, Your Honor. Mr. Cole has completed all the terms of probation. He also voluntarily entered the Senate Corps and has the certificate
Okay,
of completion.
yeah,
It's okay.
Oh, okay, I thought you wanted to say
Okay.
something. Sorry.
well, so that's
And I
being
signed the
dismissed today?
dismissal on that.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
okay, Mr. Cole. The state is dismissing the motion to revoke your probation. Does he have any more time left on the probation or is that
No,
complete?
sir, Your Honor.
Okay. So, Mr. Cole, basically what that means is that you have completed your probation. You're no longer on probation for this case
Yes, sir.
that we just signed a dismissal on. Congratulations for doing what you was required to do
Thank you, sir.
on this probation and also for voluntarily entering into the Senate Corps program. And I know they probably told you that your recovery process is a long road. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, as well as I do that, you may get tired along the way. But if you get tired along the way, there are people that you can lean on for support.
Yes, sir.
You have the people that you've met in the Center Core program, probation, and maybe some family members and friends.
Yes, sir.
But so if you get weak along the way, get tired along the way, make sure that you use those resources that you have available to you so that you can get through this process.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but congratulations on completing your probation and congratulations on taking the initiative to enter and complete the Center Core program.
Thank you, sir.
All right, and the second case is going to be reset for a plea on what's that date? How much time you need?
This is the standard, Your Honor. What is your standard?
30, yeah.
Okay, that's
April 1st.
perfect, Your Honor.
Okay, be reset April 1st of 2022. Mr. Paget, you can sign for the reset and you can get your dismissal. Once you get your reset and dismissal, you're free to go. And Mr. Cole, once you get your reset and dismissal from your attorney, you'll be free to go as well. You have a blessed day.
You do the same, sir.
All right.
Thank you
Oh, that's
very
right.
much.
Mr. Paget has another one. I forgot about that.
Thank you. Hey, your call.
This mode.
You have to sign for that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Go ahead and sign up on the thing.
I jumped. Your Honor. So. Right on that X, Ms. Mom.
Okay, we're in session in cause number 321-448, cause number 327-790. Both cases are style of state of Texas versus Tanika Mose or Tanika Tanielle
Yes, sir.
Mose. Ms. Mose, how are you doing?
I'm fine with you.
I'm doing fine, thanks for asking. Ms. Mose, you were here represented by your attorney, Mr. James Paget, and Mr. Paget, Ms. Mose, one of Ms. Mose's cases is on the motion to revoke probation docket.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Garrett and Mr. Boyd, do y'all have a recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor, the state
Miss-
believes it's reached an agreement with the defense on both cause numbers, which we would want to hold off until that she actually pleads next time on the
Okay.
pending, and we would dismiss the.
We're agreeable to that. We understand that the motion to revoke probation case will be dismissed upon plea of the other case, which if you would give us that same date, April the 1st,
Okay,
I'll have an agreement worked out with Mr. Boyd,
okay,
which will dispose of both cases.
okay,
On both of them.
Yes.
yeah,
They're not going to dismiss the correctly yet.
okay. Mr. Paget, you can sign
Yes, Your Honor.
for the reset, and Ms. Mose, once you get your reset from your attorney, you'll be free to go. You have a blessed day.
Thank
And
you,
Mr.
Your Honor.
Paget, I think this will conclude your case.
Yes,
You're
Your
free to
Honor.
go as well. You have a blessed day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Who else we got? Okay, we got Mr. Court is in session in cause number 327-056. The case is style of state of Texas versus Latson Goss or Latson Cheatham Goss.
Thank you.
Okay, your name is Latson Goss or Latson Cheatham Goss? Okay, how you doing, Mr. Goss? I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking. Mr. Goss, I see here the last time you were here, you were to hire You're supposed to hire an attorney. Have you hired your attorney?
No, sir, I just recently got me a job, for February the 2nd. So then, once I get my job, then I'll have my attorney. Right, came out like I told you the other day,
How much time do you need to hire him?
probably like another month or so, sir.
Give him 45 days. That'll be enough time?
Yes, sir.
April 22nd.
Okay, the case is gonna be reset to April 22nd. Once you get your reset, from our court coordinator, you'll be free to go, and you have a blessed day.
Yes, sir, you too, sir.
Okay. Lisa Marie Carr. This is cause number 3277796. Case is style of state of Texas versus Lisa Marie Carr. Is that your full name?
Yes, sir.
How you doing, Ms. Carr?
I'm blessed.
That's good. Now, Ms. Carr, I think the last time you was here, your case was reset because you had a case in Lubbock. Have you taken care of that?
That got rescheduled till the 28th of February.
28 of what?
February,
Okay, next month?
yes, sir.
Okay,
They are dropping my UUMB
okay,
case charge. They're dropping that.
okay.
I do know that. And the other one, they're working out a plea.
On that date?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, Mr.
I haven't been
Boyd?
able to talk to him, but I would like,
I think she's pro, could you check it out? Yeah, I think she's pro se, so this is Miss Lisa Carr. So you need some time to talk to the prosecutor? Okay, we'll give you some time. We'll be in recess. Okay. Okay, the court is in session and cause number 331016. The case is style of state of Texas versus Chiquita Chantel Costley. Your full name is Chiquita Chantel Costley.
yes, sir.
How you doing, Ms. Costley? That's good, Ms. Costley. I see here that last time your case was reset, it was reset to give you an opportunity to hire an attorney. Have you hired your attorney?
I'm still in the process. I had spoke to the bailiff and told him I needed to talk to my daughter while I'm catching COVID. So it put me out of work. I'm a district manager for the Caesars, so it put me out of work. I literally just went back.
Okay, so how much time do you need?
Maybe a month and a half.
45 days?
Yes, sir.
Okay, give her a 45-day reset.
Okay, April 22nd.
Okay, this case is going to be reset to April 22nd to give you an opportunity to hire your attorney. You can stand on the forex in front of our court coordinator. Once you get your reset, you'll be free to go and you have a blessed day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.